What's up guys, bdj 1.5.7 is out and this video is going to get you up to speed on how to use all the new features. Let's dive into it. So the first command I want to talk about is the roll transient command, which has been around since the last version, but I'm going to just show you how it works. It has a few new things about it. So let's take this tom drum and I'm going to set the duration to 2 and then I'll do length 2. So the loop length and the duration match. Then I'm going to bundle this into a group of 16. So now we have this group where we have 8 chops in here. Each of them are of length 2, so the total length is 16. I can do twice length to show it more on its own there. So if I do the roll command now, I'll bump up the number of repetitions inside each chop, like so. Even 8. So now the roll transient command can basically do interesting transient patterns inside of the repetitions. So if I just do RLT on its own, which means roll transient, you can see that there are these options. So if I was to do an ascending transients on all the repetitions, it will sound like this. So it's basically the starting point of all the repetitions is a little bit different when you do this. That's what it does to it. Now, if I was to do RLTP, it actually uses a musical preset pattern across multiple chops. So each chop is going to have its own unique flavor. Let's see how that sounds. Try again. And it's a little bit random, so each time is going to be a bit different. There we go, we got in some variation there. So that's kind of what you can do there. You used to have to do RLT and then say all chops and then say what you wanted to do. If you wanted to do ascending or descending, etc. Now it's just one variable. So it's RLT and then you tell it what you want to do. And the reason is because there's this very cool new syntax in the new version that allows you to select chops for every command. So it made that extra variable obsolete. So to select all chops or select any chops with this new version, you can use the equals syntax. So I'll show you how that looks. Let me set my rolls back to 1 and I'll set my RLT back to none. Now if I want to work on certain chops, what I can do is say, okay, sound 0 is what I want to select, but then I'm going to use the equals syntax to select specific chops. So now I can say sound 0 chop 1 maybe, and I'm going to apply a roll of 4 to that chop so we can see. So now you can see this chop here has 4 repetitions, and now I can go to a different chop and maybe add 8 or whatever. So that works with every command. You can see I can do pitch changes, I can do volume envelopes, etc. on whatever chops I select, and there's a bunch of ways to select chops. So I can actually do like 4 through 8. Just printed false, weird. Oh, it executed it as if it was a math command. That's interesting. Okay, so let me do SEL, which means select. And so you can see I'm selecting 4 through 8 here. It's actually 4, 5, 6, 7. And if I was to select 0 through 3, it's inclusive. So it does 0, 1, 2, 3 right there. Now there's a bunch of different selection patterns with this equal syntax. So if I run SEL on its own, this is the select command, you can see all of the different ways that you can select things. So you can select sounds, tracks essentially different ways, and then the chops kind of follow a similar pattern in a lot of cases. I made a whole video on how this works for selecting stuff. It's like a couple videos back, so go check that out if you want to learn more about how to select chops. Let me jump forward into the next topic. So there's now a screen recording command called record screen. It's still in beta. It's a little bit janky, but basically you can run RSC, record screen, and start, and then it will record your screen like a video with the audio included. Sometimes the audio gets a bit out of sync, so I'll be fixing that, but it's good for like 1 minute snippets. Anything longer than that, the audio will probably get too far out of sync. Next version, that should be improved. Also, there's a record screen FMmpeg command, and that requires FMmpeg to run. So if you don't know what that is, just Google FMmpeg and install it, and then you will be able to use the FMmpeg related commands in bdj. There's not that many, but there might be more in the future. So the record screen FMmpeg has higher quality. The colors are a bit better, basically just the colors. So let's move on. The scale command has some improvements. So if I type scale, you can see the options, and you'll notice that we have this known just intonation scale and known equal division scale. These are basically the same. You can search a giant list of known scales. They're all 12-step scales, but if you use the known just intonation option, then it will adapt it into just intonation tuning. If you do known equal division option, it will adjust it into an equal division tuning. If you don't know the difference, personally I like to use the just intonation version. It's more harmonically pure in a sense, so you can go down a whole rabbit hole learning about the difference there. If you want, you can just Google that, and it's pretty fascinating. I use just intonation for pretty much all my music these days. So if I run KJ now that I'm inside the scale command, you can see there's all these scales, and there's actually a bunch more that it's not printing out. It says there's 263 scales. So you can search here, like I could search, there's like an Egyptian scale, there's I don't know, all the different minor scales, like Phrygian scales, etc. Tons and tons of scales, and then you can click on them to select them, or you can type out the name, and you don't have to do a full match. So you can see if I was to do blues diminished, if I just type this much and then it shows it here in the list, it's the only one in the list, then it's going to be a guaranteed match if I enter this. So I can just enter this, and it selected that scale. Now there's another new option in the scale command which will print, well, it's not a new option, but basically if I print the scale, there's more information than there used to be. So now we can see, besides just the ratios and frequencies, we can see the scale type, whether it's just intonation or equal division. We see the number of divisions, harmonic resolution. The harmonic resolution is related to just intonation. Basically, the higher it is, it has to be a power of 2, but if it's higher, that means you're getting closer and closer to an equal division scale. So I think 16 is good. Basically, you want it slightly above whatever your divisions are, but it doesn't matter, you can play around with it. Here we see the pitch classes. So the pitch classes are a subset of all of the steps in the scale. So we have, that's what these are here, 0, 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. So you'll see that some of these are missing, like 2 is missing, 5 is missing. That's because the scale is a subset of the chromatic scale, which would be all steps. So chromatic means all steps, and most scales are a subset of that. Now you have the intervals representation, which a lot of people use this representation to represent scales, which is the step sizes. So this is basically just the difference between the size between each step. So we have a 1 and then 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then we have the binary representation, which is just an on and off representation. So we have on, off, etc. Now you can enter scales any of these 3 ways by using any of these representations. So these are all the actual commands you can use. So if you wanted to edit the scale, basically just run scale print, and then you could say, oh, I want to actually add in this extra division that's missing, and you can see it added it into the scale there. So now you can edit scales, which wasn't possible in the past. Moving on. There's a fish command, which is a new 3D command. It allows you to create fish, so I can create these animated fish. If you want to see the exact colors of the fish, just use white. This is basically a tint color, so we could apply a tint to the fish. But here's their default colors. And again, the way I ran that command was just fish, and then create. And you can actually create more, so I can create groups at a time. So I'll do maybe 30 fish this time, and I'll do cyan color. Now I can delete the fish. If I do fish delete, it will delete the last group. If I do fish delete all, it will delete all groups. Alright, moving on. There's a new composer command that is hopefully going to help us compose melodies faster. So let me show you how that works. Let's say I have a synth one shot. So I have this one shot sound, and I want to create a melody with it. So I'm going to use the composer command. And the way I do that is I just do COM for composer. And then I tell the composer what parts of the sound I want to edit. So I'm going to edit the melody and the durations. And you can see it pops open this new interface down here. And now to edit this, all I have to do is type in the values. So whatever was on the first before the comma here is the first row, and then what comes next is the second variable. So this is the melody, this is the durations. You can see we could even add more options here. I could do the dynamics. So now we have 3 things, but I just want to edit the melody and the durations for now. So I'm going to click on the 2 and I'm going to enter 0. So that changes the melody of the synth to 0, which is our pitch class 0. I'm going to use the down arrow to go down and set this to 2. So I changed the duration to 2. Now I'm going to create the melody. So I'm going to say, I just hit the space bar and then the number. So let's do 3, 2, 5. Now you can see I have 4 notes and I was able to create those pretty quickly. Now I could maybe go down, change this duration to 4, and then continue with the melody, something like that. So let's see how this sounds. So you can see how you can edit things pretty quickly, and you can also select multiple tracks at once. So let's say I had this duplicated at like an octave down. Now I can do 0,1 composer mel durations, and now I have the tracks, both tracks here. So let's say on the bottom track I want to make kind of a harmony. So maybe I'll do, I don't know, 3, 5, 4, 6, let's do 7 there. Let's do 4, 2. So, and I want to change the durations also. So I'm going to say 2, 2. And then I need to add, I don't know, maybe I'll add some notes. So I'll just say 1, 0. So this is probably going to sound bad, but just as an example. So you can see how you can edit both at once. Now, let's say if I wanted to edit the dynamics or something different, I could even do, maybe I want to edit the volume envelope and the dynamics of the bottom track. So I'll do that. And now you can see I can enter some values here. I'm changing the volume envelopes and then maybe changing the dynamics, just as an example. So try this out. Let me know if you guys think it's any faster. I don't think it's good to use it all the time, but it makes sense when you're trying to like write what's in your head, I think. If you're trying to write like a melody that's in your head, this might be a better workflow than the typical workflow, which would be to like print melder and then kind of edit these numbers. It just takes slightly longer to kind of enter the values this way sometimes. So let me know your thoughts on that. To close the composer, you just run com no. Like that. What else do we have? So now there's a fallback method for printing out variables. So typically if I wanted to know some information about a sound, I can do 0 print, or like whatever the sound number is, space print, and then I can choose from all these options. So if I wanted to do the melody, I could do 0 print mel. And now there's kind of a fallback. So if you accidentally type 0 mel print, it will do the same thing because I was doing that a lot. So I added that fallback method. There's now custom reverb options. So let me delete track 1 and we'll apply reverb to track 0. So let's do 0 rack 1 and then effects 1 to edit the effects rack. So you can see this is rack 1 here. Now it used to be rack 0. Now we can apply effects to rack 1. So I do FX1, and then I'm going to choose the CRV custom reverb option. Now we start with a preset. So I'll start with psychotic, and then you can adjust all of these values. So let's say I want the psychotic, but I want the dry level to be silent. I believe the dry level is in decibels here, maybe? I don't know what value that is actually. I don't get why wet level is so high, but oh yeah, I think the dry level is in decibels, so I'm gonna try dry, and then I'm gonna do, oh, it tells me the min and max. So I'm gonna do negative 10,000, and then I'm gonna type done. So I just edited the reverb. Now you can see the reverb has no dry volume, it's just wet. And these values are not something I came up with. I don't like how these numbers are so chaotic, but this is part of how the reverb works inside Unity 3D, which bdj is made with, so bear with me on these numbers. Luckily, it will tell you the min and max values once you select what you want to enter. So let's put this back to rack 1 so we have no effects, and to reset the effects rack, I can always just run FX1 res to reset with a transition time of 0. Alright, moving on, we have the unpitch and repitch commands, which are very useful, especially for drum breaks. So let's load up we'll use the precision splitter command, which is an old command, to load up a break, and let's find an actual drum break. Let's see how this sounds. Cool. So whenever you import something into bdj, it gets pitch shifted. But what if we want to unpitch shift it? Especially for drums, it can make it sound a bit more natural. So I'm going to run unp, which means unpitch, and now our drums have been unpitched. In this case, you can't really tell because it did the pitch shifting really well, but in some cases it might get the pitch shifting wrong and it's more drastic. But yeah, this can help. If your breaks ever feel just a bit off, try this and it might fix it. It can also work well for rap vocals. So for rap vocals, you don't really want them tuned. So try this out. And then if you want to go back to having the sound pitched, you just run rep and it will re-pitch it. So it retunes it to the scale. And let me load up another one shot. So let me find something a little better. Okay, so this bass, there's now the option to add rests inside the melody. So let's say we have this bass and we want to do just 4 quarter notes like that. Well, when I edit the melody, I could do print mel to see what it is currently, and then I could use a dash to add a rest. You can see it makes that chop silent. Now this is also affected by the new toggle command. It kind of shares state with the melody command, which is not ideal, but it's kind of what we're working with at the moment. So the toggle command, if I run that, the toggle command is a new command that allows you to turn these on and off, just like the rests. So if I was to do 9, that turns them all on. If I do toggle 909, 9,0, it turns them off in a on-off pattern, on-off, on-off. And then you can do anything from 0 to 9 as probabilities. So this can help you emphasize certain rhythmic notes while still having a bit of variety. So let's see how that works in action with a hi-hat. So let's say I have this group of hi-hats. Now if I do toggle and then do 9, 3, 9, 3, 0, it's gonna make the first one always on, then the next one has a 3 out of 9 probability of being on, and the next one has a 0 probability of being on. So that will just repeat that pattern across the chops. So now you can see we have this triplet kind of emphasis, or I guess 3-beat emphasis, but with a random probability in there. So that helps give it a little bit of variety with still emphasizing which rhythm we want. And if you want the easy way to use this, just do toggle P, and it's going to do different musical presets for you automatically. So it's going to emphasize certain rhythmic elements with a bit of randomness. So it's kind of like the old shuffle 9 or shuffle command that we used to use. And that command still exists, but the toggle command is a bit more advanced in my opinion. You can make it more musical basically. So moving on, there's a new loop index and length in command combined. So you can do the loop index and the length at the same time. So for example, typically you would do index 0, length 8 or whatever, but now you can do them both at once by doing index and length, and then I could enter like 8 and 16 or something. So it's going to do the index and the length at the same time. Fixed logging. This one's fun. So there's a new amplitude modulation command. If I get another one-shot sound. So let's say I have this sound here. I'm going to clean it up a bit, and it sounds like this. So the amplitude modulation command basically does really fast amplitude modulation. So it's kind of like tremolo, but at really high rates, and you can control different aspects about it. And it can create some really cool kind of metallic timbres. So if I run AM, if you want the fast option, just do AMP, and it will do it will apply these musical variations for you. So let's hear how some of these sound. And so what I found is this works well for any sort of like industrial or techno flavored stuff where you want it to sound kind of harsh and distorted. It can give almost like a distorted boombox kind of a vibe. So it works really well for certain genres. You can do AMN to remove it. So it's AM no. And then you can see there's some other options here. So you can actually go in and control specific parameters. So we could control the cycles per chop. I can do different patterns. I can do melodic patterns like the roll command. And then you can control, so that's the number of cycles. That's the number of, the number of cycles that it's editing each chop. And then the frequency envelope controls the frequency of the waves inside there. So you can do basically like downward motions or upward motions or whatever, and it's from 0 to 8. So an 8 is the default. It's basically like the volume envelope command, but has a frequency envelope. So 8 is straight across. 8 to 0 means a downward pitch sweep. So we can hear how that sounds. And it might be more drastic if I was to change the cycles to a higher rate. And then we can also change the wave type. So let's change the wave type. Now you can do different patterns here. Like I could do sine, saw, square to do a type of pattern. I'm gonna just do the square with a dash, which skips the second half of the waveform. This tends to give a harsh effect, which can be kind of cool. And this should kind of sound like kick drums now. Maybe if I turn up the cycles higher. Has a bit of like this downward movement, which is typical in kick drums. So yeah, there's a bunch you can play with there, and AMP is the easy version. And then AMN to remove it. Okay, there's a new permissions command for managing scripts, but you will come across that if you are diving into how to edit bdj scripts. If you have any questions on that, just email me or stop by our Discord by running Discord in bdj, and I can show you how to write your own generators and effects scripts. It's really pretty easy to get started. So the reverse command now has a variable reverse. So let's say we have a kick drum, for example. Let's get a nice looking one. These are all kind of, that one's good. Okay. So let me bundle this into a group. Now, if I run reverse 0, that's default, there's no reverse. If I do reverse 9, that's max reverse, so they're all reversed. If I was to do reverse any number between that, it's going to do a partial reverse. I think it's actually, oh yeah, it's not out of 9 anymore, it's out of 8. So because 4 divides by 8 more cleanly, it's better to have 8 in this case. So reverse 8 is the max, reverse 0 is no, reverse 4 is half. So you can see basically it starts normal and then reverses halfway through. And again, you can do patterns here. So I could do 8, then half reverse, then full reverse, then half reverse, or some other reverse. And again, if you use the P option, you get different variations. So we can just keep running that and see if we get anything we like. And there's also the R option and the A ascending and descending options here as usual. And then reverse N to remove them all. Oh, looks like that doesn't work anymore. That's a bug. Reverse N. So now to remove the reverses, you can still pretty simple, you just do REV 0. Okay. There's now a wait command, so you can run multiple things at once and wait for them to complete. It's not super necessary because some of the commands wait automatically now. So if I was to do create a kick, then semicolon, then set the length to 16, and then I'll do duration 664. If I run that, I don't really need to do any waits. It's going to work more or less. But if there ever is a problem, what you can do is if you need to wait for something to complete, you can just type wait, and then I think it's in milliseconds. So we would say wait, 500 milliseconds or something, and then do the next commands. Let's wait for 2 seconds to see if it works. There it goes. Yeah, all delete. Okay, moving on. Yeah, there's new shortcuts for efficiency, max efficiency. So you can press Control R to search all your previous commands. So if I start typing, it will show my previous commands, and then Control C to cancel. So that's Control R. You can do, let's say if I have some text in the text box, I can now do a couple things. So I can do, say, Control A to go to the beginning of the line. I think these work better on Mac. I think the Windows versions might need to be adjusted a bit, but yeah, I can go to the beginning of the line with Control A. Control E goes to the end of the line. And you can also do Option Over now, which will go through the words. So if you hold Option and click the arrows, you can navigate through. And I think Control K deletes to the end of the line. So I could delete the ending, and then Control U deletes before the cursor. So we had Control A to go to the front of the line, Control E to go to the end, Control K to delete what's after the cursor, Control U to delete what's before the cursor, and Option arrow keys to go left and right by words. All right, I need a water break. This was a huge update. There's usually not this much stuff in the updates, but I went down too many rabbit holes at once. I think the next future versions, I'm just going to do smaller bits at a time, hopefully. So this command force 0 is pretty useful. So let's say I load up a percussive sound or something, and it sounds like, and I have a kick maybe at the same time. Now let's say I like the percussive sound how it is, but I want the index to be at 0. I want it to be like this, oops, like this, so it lines up perfectly, but I don't want to actually move it from its position because it will change the sound. So what you can do is just do 0 force, you can do whatever the track number is, and then FZ to force the command, to force the index to 0. So I do that, and you can see it keeps the same sound, but it just kind of rotates the chops perfectly for you, and now we're good to go. The new fast generate command is for generating sounds with synthesis. So we have had the G command for generating sounds with synthesis, where you can enter the pitch index, the octave, the length, and the number of chops. This is new. Entering the number of chops is a new thing, but you can see that's kind of tedious to use. You have to enter all these numbers, and you don't really get musical sequences. You just get like one shots. So it's good if you want one shots, but if you want a musical sequence, you can use the fast generate command, which is FG, and then you can just give it a search term. So I can say, I'm going to use the Mando search term, which will pull this new mandolin synthesis script I wrote, and you can see it added 2 chops, and they probably have different pitches. So it will do these little melodies and things. Let me try a few times. So you can see it's a bit different every time you run it. And it works basically the same way as the S command now. So you can just type in a single keyword and get some sort of random result to start working with. So that was fast generate. And moving on, there's now new options in the change command. So the change command has had some cool things, but I think I'm missing one of the new commands I actually want to talk about. So let me go over that. So let's load up a break. This is really cool. So I'm going to add some notes to this till we get up to 32 by using the grow command. Just see if we can get, there we go. So I'm running grow to add chops and then fit length to fit to the duration. So now we have 32. And what's really cool is this new command called order. So I can run order or ORD, and I can actually arrange the chops or order the chops based on properties about them. So if I was to do, I don't know, brightness descending like that, you can see it orders the chops starting with the brightest and then gets darker and darker. So you can see how that looks. Now there's a bunch of cool ordering options. You can do noise ascending, you can do impact ascending, and volume. And then what I really like is this P option. It's actually probably one of the best algorithms I've written for bdj. So if you do order P, it can do really nice break chopping for you or percussive stuff for you. It emphasizes rhythmic sections, almost like a drummer would. So let's check out how some of these options sound. So check it out, I'm just running order P over and over and getting different results. So yeah, this is next level for making rhythmic stuff quickly, because previously what you had to do is basically run shuffle 9, and it was kind of a crapshoot on what you would get. Like you can see these are looking much more random. Versus ord P, which gives you really nice percussive sections. And on top of that, this leads nicely into the change command. Has new options, so you can change sounds over time with the change command, and you can see the order command is now an option. So if I was to run ord, I ran change and then ord as an option, and now I can tell how often I want to change the order. So I'll just do 32. You can also enter, these musical numbers, like one phrase, which is equal to 4 bars, or you can enter it as bars like that, 4 bars. I can enter here, I can do 32, or if I want to do a musical way, I could say, sorry, not a musical way, a musical unit, larger unit, I could use 2 bars instead of 32. Same difference. So now this is going to change every 2 bars. So we're going to get a different percussive sequence every 2 bars. It's going to sound kind of like a drummer soloing. Let's check it out. So you can see how this could get really cool if we start to layer other percussive loops. If I can get one, I just want a sequence here. Let's check out, maybe this is cool. No. Oops, I deleted it. Anyways, yeah, when you layer up multiple loops like that with the change command on them, you get these really cool jam sessions. And another option in here that's useful is the melody shift command, which will just shift the melody up and down around kind of a range. So if I was to do if I had a pad like this, previously you could only do the melody option, which would run mel P every time, and it would be a bit chaotic, especially for like pads. But now with mel, or with the MSH option inside of the change command, it kind of just goes up 1 or 2 pitches, and it sounds a little bit more tamed. So you can see if I was to do change, melody shift, every 32 beats, now it's going to go up and down. And it shouldn't ever go too high or too low. It was going pretty low there for a minute, but I think it reached kind of the bottom. All right, the vowel command. The vowel command is super cool. Definitely sounds good on basses, especially. So let me use the generator command, and I'm gonna load up this glottal synth. I really like this combo right here. So I do glot, and then I'm gonna do just the tonic frequency, octave 0. I'm gonna do a length 32 with 1 chop. Oh, and I actually want to drop that down maybe 2 octaves. Let's see. So I love this combo. Do that, and then I run super, mod super. So we're gonna do a mod modifier, which is basically like an effect script. So if you run mod and then search, you can see all the different scripts. This is not new. So I can do the super saw blend. I'm gonna do like a 4. So that's gonna add a super saw blend with my current synthesizer. You can see it has this really full, I don't even know what to call it. It sounds really cool. So if I bake that, now it's just a single audio section. There's no modifiers that are going to rerun. When you bake it, it cooks everything in place. Now I can use this with the vowel command, which will do some cool vowel formant filters. And that just makes it sound like it's someone actually, basically if you took the sound and played it out of someone's mouth while they were talking, it's kind of how it sounds. So you'll see what I mean. I'm going to turn this into a sequence by doing duration 2 and then bit length. So I have all these chops here, and then I'm going to bundle them into a group of 32 of length 32. There's 16 chops, each duration 2, total length 32. Now I'm going to use the vowel command. So I'll do vowel, V-O-W, and you can enter any combination of letters and numbers, and it's going to give you different results. So the letters are the vowel sound. So if I do A, E, I, O, U like this, you can do all these different options and you can combine them to sweep over the chops. So let's say I do Q, T, and then 9. So 9 is the number is the resonance. So if I was to do 0 to 9, it's going to start with it's actually a gain resonance combo. So the gain increases and the resonance widens, I believe is how that works. Yeah. So the resonance widens as you have higher gain. So let's see how this sounds if I apply that. It's going to go across all the chops. And if I reverse the numbers, you can see it's going to have more of a start louder and then go down. And what's really fun is just doing the P option. So if you just do P, it's just going to do these random musical patterns. And of course, if you ever want to edit these more specifically, you can just do print VOW, and it will show you what was applied. So I could go in here and change this to like something like that. And I think there's also an R option. There's some stuff missing here that's not explaining it enough, but I think there's an R option that will do totally random values instead of musical values. But yeah, this command is really fun, especially on longer sounds. Like if we were to do, or actually any type of sounds, but let's say we had some longer sounds here. You can hear the changes over time a bit more clearly. And you can't always hear it super well, so it depends on the timbre of the original sound. Sometimes it won't come through quite as clearly on all sounds. Sweet, let's keep cooking here. This import loop command I'm super excited about. It's kind of like a new, I don't know, evolution in bdj or new era. So let me put my tempo up to more of a techno tempo where I have my loops at. So I have all these loops. Let me see if I think you guys can see this. I go to my music and go to loops, mono converts. So bdj imports everything as mono basically because of the way it does the 4-channel mixing. Everything kind of has to be in mono, each track. I might be able to fix that in the future, but it's kind of a hassle. So you can basically take all these loops from your previous music, or it could be any loop. It doesn't have to be something you made, but if it's something you made, it will work better inside bdj because of the tonic synchronization. So bdj synchronizes the tonic with the BPM. So basically everything you make in a certain tempo is in key with everything else you make in that tempo. What that means is that whenever you import something, if you know the tempo of it and you made it in bdj it's going to work with anything else in bdj basically, to an extent. Like the scales still matter, but like the tonics will synchronize. So you can even mix and match scales this way and get some cool results. So I have all of these that I chopped out of some live performances, and we can preview some here. So what's really cool about this is now there's an extra source folder. So if you run src, that's the normal source folder, put a L at the end, that means source loops or source loop. You can now specify a different folder for your loops. I have mine directing to the folder we were just looking at. By default, it's directed to your source folder. So if you want to have it go to a different folder, you can, like I am. And now to import these loops, I can use IL and I can choose a keyword. So you can also import, I think you can do choose file and, choose it that way, or you can just paste the file path in here. But you can also just do a keyword. So like, let's say I'm doing a live set and I'm like, okay, I want a techno loop. So it found this dub techno one. You can see it extracted the BPM from the file path. So you want to make sure your BPM is in the file name, and that way bdj will know how to work with it, because I don't have BPM detection implemented yet. So plus this is honestly really reliable. bdj already exports things this way, so it's like not a big deal to have the tempo in the file path, and most sample packs already do this. So now you can see it imports it as one big chop. I want to get a little bit of a different loop. So you can see this one, it bumped it up from 112 to 135, and now it's going to work with everything that I'm using at 135. What's cool about this is there's a new chop command which allows you to take these loops and chop them up. So I can do the chop command. Now I can chop by positions or by duration patterns. I've typically just been using duration patterns. So what you do is you enter D to choose duration patterns, and then you enter, like, I could say, okay, I want to chop 2 beats and then 4 beats, etc., whatever. But what I like to do is just do like 2 or 4 something. So it cuts it into chops like that all the way across. Now we have this whole thing we can edit. The only thing is it's best to run unpitch probably. It basically changes the pitch once you do that, I think, because it tunes it. I think I'm going to disable that by default. But for now you can just use unpitch, so that will remove the pitch shifting. So let's hear what it sounded like with the pitch shifting. I can repitch it. So if I do unpitch, it will sound normal. So what's really cool here is I can select certain chops like randomly. So I could say like 0 equals and then do 1R, which means a 1 out of 9 probability that any of the chops will be selected. And then I can run roll 2, and then I could try that again and run like roll 4, and then again and roll 8. And you get these cool glitches in the audio now. And then of course, to take it all back, I can just do 0, roll 1. So it's a fun way to add some variation. We could also try with like the vowel command or something. Let me do 2R, so I'll affect 2 out of 9 percent. And then let's just add some vowels in there. So it's kind of fun. So yeah, now you can mix and match these loops, right? So if I have this techno loop and then I know like, okay, I want some tops, I want some hi-hats and stuff, I can say, okay, import loop tops, and now we have this. Let me see what else. So here's a trick I learned by practicing with this. What happens is you get these super long loops and it takes forever to preview them. I might work on a fix for this, but currently the way you can get around it is just to say like length 32 or something. So you just shorten the length down, and that way you can preview it faster. Like during a live set. Of course, when you're not live, you can preview it easily. by going to the beginning of the track or whatever. But during a live set, you can't stop the beat, right? So you have to basically shrink the length to preview it quicker. And then in order to make it longer again, you can just do print duration to remember what the original duration was, and you can do length 256. You can also just run fit length. So let me demo how I would do this. So I have this loop going, and I just want to add some extra loop on top, and so I might put a high pass filter on it, shrink it down small to preview it, and then I'm going to drop it into my mix. So let's say that the current loop is moved to the speakers with the move command. So it's up here in this left and right speaker channel. I'm going to pull in a new loop, preview it, and mix it with this loop. Here it comes. You can see how you basically could start DJing just like a regular DJ almost, but with your own loops. And of course you don't have to use your own loops. I could be using the other source folder and loading up breaks and stuff like that. And you'll see sometimes it might say no valid BPM found. So we'll use the project BPM, and in that case it's probably not going to work. It's really only going to sound good if it finds the BPM of the original file. The other caveat is that it's not really going to sound good if it's chords or anything. Anything like chords or synths or anything, it's going to be out of tune, and that's because BPM syncs, because bdj syncs the tonic to the BPM, and it doesn't do any pitch warping or time warping like some other DAWs do, and that's by design. I don't really like those algorithms. They tend to lower the quality of the sound and just make it sound kind of like soulless in my opinion. So this was an intentional choice. It works great for drums. And then it works great for your own bdj loops. Beyond that, it's going to sound a bit strange unless you tune those loops. So something to experiment with. We're almost through all of the commands here, all the new stuff. I need some more water. There's a new load project from day command. So this might come in handy. I don't know. I needed it once, so I made it. But I can do load day and then enter the year of the project, the day, the month, and then the day, and you can see it loaded up the project from that day, and I just have to choose it to actually load it. So yeah, that exists. I added a cancel option to the record and mic commands. So if we're recording, I don't really need any audio to actually show. If I'm recording, record start, and I'm like, oh crap, I messed up the recording. You don't have to do record stop and like save the file and everything. Just do record cancel. Oh shoot. I guess it's record C and it will cancel. I need to fix that. So you can do record C and that will cancel it. And I need to fix it so you can actually type out the whole word cancel. But there's also the mic recording feature, which will record your mic or any other input, like a guitar or something that's plugged into your audio interface. It records whatever is your default input at the moment, which you can control in your sound settings on your computer. And if you're using that, you can also do mic C to cancel the recording. You can also type it as input, I think. Yeah, so you can, it's input or mic, it's the same command. There is a new MIDI import command, which is in beta. Now I can choose the channel number from any of these channels. I'll do channel 1, and oh, it looks like it doesn't work. So I never actually tested this in production, but the MIDI command does not work at all apparently in the new version. So I'll get that working in the next version. Alright guys, that's it. I think we covered everything in the new version. If I missed anything, let me know. And if you have any questions at all, even on old stuff, just drop it in the comments and I'll be happy to cover it in a future video. Thanks so much for using bdj. It really means the world to me that you guys are interested in this. It was just a crazy hobby project of mine that developed into the beast that it is today, and I'm very excited to keep working on it and to keep building this community around it. So cheers y'all. Thank you.